Om Jnanatimrandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhakti Malan, you like to read English, please?
I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Joy, Srila Prabhupada ki Joy. We just celebrated his appearance, his birthday.
Now they are saying they introducing the coin in India, and then with the Srila Prabhupada's photo like engraved on the coin there. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I watched. I caught the actual. That was really. I didn't understand a word. I mean, I caught a few words here and there, but just it was so nice. It was so nice just to hear people talking.
Recognition, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very good. Helping to spread Prabhupada's fame.
And
by
it's
him
all,
being on that
and
coin.
we have got a code system there. In every code, like they put that, you know, you guys put the Bible over there. In every code, they put the Prabhupada's Gita to put the hand in there. I'll tell truth, not about the truth. Which is good.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Bhagavad Gita as it is.
Yeah.
In the courts in India,
court in India, we have got a Bhagavad Gita. You know, in Arab countries, they must have a Quran. Here we have a Bible or things like that. So put the hand on there. You have to tell the truth, not a part of the truth. That's it. So then they will say, in the case start and then proceeding and things like that.
But it was nice. What Narendra was saying. I mean, from what I could make out and understand, the little few words from there, he was saying something to the effect that, like, how much more made in India could it be? Like Srila Prabhupada, and how he took the Bhagavad Gita and the culture and everything across the seas, and it was like it's made in India. It's you know, something to that. If he said several times, and I was thinking like he was just stressing that it was that he took he was like an ambassador to India.
But it's all done by the Krishna. Krishna is the one arrange the timing and everything, and then he has to be going that certain time. And then Prabhupada's disciple, they came in the time when the Prabhupada's there. I wasn't there, you wasn't there. It's just all designed by Krishna. All arrangement is by Krishna.
Hey, I just saw that Nilakanta Priya Mataji, she had presented an idea. How about we just set up a WhatsApp group to share our realizations after our readings? So what do you all think about that?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know so much about how to do that. I know some of you, I mean, I know Jayanti does, or maybe some of you do. Do you want to set up a WhatsApp group so we can just share realizations during the week?
Sure.
Before or after our talks? So who wants to organise that?
Is she being the admin?
Does Nilakanta Priya Mataji want to organise that since it's her idea? I'm okay with that. Oh, yes. She said I can organise it. Okay, done.
Beautiful.
Going, gone.
And we're in together mode again.
Yes.
Yeah, how can we keep oscillating between? I personally like this grid view. I don't like, but I'm not the boss. I'm just a servant of all of you. If you all like to sit on the mountains or whatever like that with just your head above the mountain, I mean, I can survive with that.
I find it a bit disturbing because I don't know, it's just really weird.
But what's disturbing? This grid view or the one with the mountains and stuff?
Well, the one with the mountain.
It's our view, isn't it? The view.
And it's really up to Gulshan, Bhaktimal, and me anyway, because Deepa and Nilakanta Priya don't even have their pictures. Their camera's not even on. So It's only the three of us really that have the right to choose between the which view.
now I'm in grid mode now.
Yeah, no, we have to all be in the same mode, isn't it?
Well, how come I can all of a sudden change it then?
I think anyone can change it.
Oh, okay.
But it's going to be changed for everyone as soon as one person changes, as far as I understand.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not a technology expert here. Anyway, we don't want to that's all right. I don't want to let Maya defeat us by taking away our valuable time to discuss Bhagavad Gita. So let's get into it. So chapter 6, text 18 for today. We'll just recap on last week was 17, very wonderful verse that Prabhupada quoted many times, saying he who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. So yeah, regulation of all of our bodily activities, that's a very important part of yoga, very important if we want to advance in yoga. Regulation, you can take it different ways to follow the regulations of the scriptures in terms of eating and Prabhupada and sleeping and recreation, work like that. And in terms of eating, he said, the regulations of the scriptures for human beings is to eat vegetarian food. So that's being regulated in eating, is just to eat vegetarian food. And of course, it should be offered to God. So prasadam. So to eat vegetarian food is offered to God. So then you've regulated your eating. Another aspect of regulating is like I was talking about is, you eat at the same time every day. So that way you don't have to think about your bodily activities too much.
Eat less. Like, if you hungry of the 2 chapati, eat 1. If you're hungry for 3, just eat 2.
Yeah, but it's case by case. I mean, like if you're a farmer and you're doing really hard work, I mean, you need to eat a lot. Or
these days, who does hard work? We all sitting in front of the computer or TV.
I know. So in that case, it's better to eat less.
Yes.
So it depends. But it's unfair for you to say everyone is like that. Like I'm doing farming work at the moment. I can eat more. I'm doing hard physical work.
You are a skinny entire life, no matter what you eat.
So yeah, it's case by case, but yeah, definitely the regulation of regulating according to the scriptures. The proper eating for a human being as vegetarian food should be offered to God. Regulations of the scriptures for sleeping. What's that? That a human being should rise early in the morning. That's the regulations of the scriptures. Should rise early in the morning. It's the best time for spiritual activities. I heard a lecture Prabhupada was saying this morning, this is tapasya, austerity. Previously, austerity was that in the winter, they would submerge themselves up to the neck in the Ganges or like the Yamuna, some holy river. That was austerity they would perform. Or in the summer, when it's already hot, they would light fires around their body. Just real austerities, tapasya. And Prabhupada said now in Kali Yuga, we can't do that. We're not able to do that. No one can do that in Kali Yuga. But just some little austerity is required. So he said, what is our austerity? He said, getting up at 3:30 in the morning. So Prabhupada's idea was that all the devotees would come to Mangalarti, which starts at 4:30. So you have to get ready, obviously, to have a shower, put on clean clothes before that. So, maybe it takes someone an hour. They get up at 3:30. Of course, if you can get ready in half an hour, then you get up at 4 o'clock. But, generally, especially living in a temple situation, everyone should. That was one of my duties as a manager, to try to get everyone up for Mangalarti when I was at New Gokula at the farm. So that's the duty.
Struggling?
Struggling sometimes, but it wasn't too bad. The main thing is that the leader should get up for Mangalarti. Because if you look at that 3:21 in the Bhagavad Gita, yad acharati shrestha, whatever the leader does, then the common people follow. So that's the best way to teach, is by example. You can teach in two ways: by telling people what to do. You have to do this, you can't do that, you have to do that.
That's the Hitler way.
Yeah, Hitler way, or which doesn't work for me. Or you can teach by example. Just do the right thing yourself, and other people get attracted to that, inspired by that, and want to follow that. And that's very common, you know. Whatever the rock star does, then what happens? Whatever the movie star, the Hollywood, Bollywood star does, what does everyone else do?
Follow that.
If they have a particular haircut, everyone has that haircut. If they wear particular clothes, everyone.
Even if they look weird, and
if they look weird, everyone looks weird. So if they use some particular terminology, then everyone uses that terminology. You know, so if they're real degraded people like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, then everyone. Oh, she's already done it. Okay, she's already done the link for the WhatsApp group. Thank you very much. You know, so if they are drug addicts and womanizers, then everyone becomes a drug addict and womanizer, because, you know, they're great people, you know, and people follow that, you know. So
it's the same as thing, you know, the Prabhupada say Hare Krishna movement and people follow.
Yeah.
Which is good thing, you know, people follow the good thing as well.
And whatever Prabhupada asked anyone to do, you know, he did it himself first, more than that. Like one reporter was criticizing that that he'd heard that devotees were only sleeping 6 hours a day, and he was insinuating to Prabhupada that you're like torturing, you know, really exploiting. Yeah, you're exploiting your disciples, you know, that they can't sleep very much and getting to work very hard. And one of the disciples pointed out to the reporter, excuse me, I mean, our spiritual master, he sleeps 3.5 hours a day. So it's not that he was just enjoying a cushy life and getting all the disciples to work hard, and he was just enjoying off them, you know, like a parasite sort of thing. No, he was working even more harder. He was working even more harder. And talking about sleeping, it actually mentions in the purport to last week's verse, text 17, that Rupa Goswami would only sleep 2 hours a day. That Haridas Thakur, he wouldn't eat anything, or he wouldn't sleep unless he finished his prescribed number of rounds, which was mentioned there, 300,000 names. 300,000 names is 192 rounds every day. That was his regulation, because it was talking about regulation, right? So he had made that regulation, that I'm going to chant 192 rounds a day, and after that, whatever time left over, I can eat something or sleep something, which wasn't much, you know. So, and the question is, how is it possible to control the mind and the senses? Because that's what the topic is right throughout this chapter, as this jnana yogi has to control the mind and control the senses. So any yogi, whether it's a bhakti yogi, jnana yogi, has to control the mind and senses. And it becomes very much easier in bhakti yoga system because you have such positive activities. Because you have such positive activities, therefore, all the bodily activities, they can more easily be controlled because you've got something very positive. Like, I'll give you an example, that I was able to fast for Janmashtami, Krishna's birthday. So, you know, you're controlling your eating, not eating. That became more easy because I was very busy and absorbed. My mind was absorbed, and my body, my senses were engaged in cooking for Krishna. So I spent the whole day cooking. I made, I think, about 10 different items throughout the day. So not eating became easier. because my mind was preoccupied with cooking the best things I could, cooking the best I could for Krishna. And my body, my senses were all engaged in doing that, my arms and legs and eyes and everything like that. And even though I was surrounded by food the whole day, but I wasn't like agitated or disturbed or whatever. You'd think that'd be the worst place to be when you're fasting, is in the kitchen, but it's actually not. You know, the main thing is to be busy. You're doing service. So when you're doing service, it's like the higher taste. So it's easier to control the mind and the senses. And there's cases where yogis that are not devotees, they have more trouble to control the senses, the genitals and the eyes and the tongue and all these kind of things. And there's many cases like that. But devotees is more easier because we have such positive activities of serving Krishna, devotional service in different ways, hearing and chanting and so forth. And that satisfies us. That satisfies us on the spiritual.
Oh,
okay. This is our Janmashtami offering. That was our Janmashtami offering. You know, so that's satisfies the soul. So therefore, the mind and sense is easier to control. But if you don't have that higher taste, that satisfaction, then it becomes very, very difficult. Very difficult. There's many cases of a male yogi falling victim to a prostitute. I mean, I've been hearing a lot of classes recently about from Bhagavad on the Ajamil pastime, where Ajamil, he was brought up a good Brahmin family, but he happened to see the low-class man, a Sudra man, embracing with a prostitute while he was walking by in the forest. And his mind became captivated, and soon after he went after that woman and hooked up with her and got rid of his good wife and just lived with this prostitute, and then he became really degraded. So, he fell victim to his senses. He couldn't control his senses and his mind. Whereas someone like Haridas Thakur, which is what mentioned in this verse, he also had a similar thing happen, but it was organized by one guy that didn't like Haridas Thakur, because Haridas Thakur was so famous because of his activities, and he was so blissful and so ecstatic, and he was always chanting and that. So he became very famous, and therefore the other priests, the other saintly people, so-called saintly people, brahmanas and priests and that, didn't get attention anymore from the public, and probably donations also, which is what they're usually concerned about. So they were missing out. So a lot of people were envious of Haridas Thakur, these so-called brahmanas and priests. So one of them organized a prostitute, paid a prostitute to make Haridas Thakur fall down from yoga practice, which includes, not having illicit sex, obviously, is against the regulations. So then you become fallen if you have illicit sex. So he sent the prostitute, and the prostitute, she did all her special moves and everything like that, and trying to attract him. But he was so absorbed in chanting. And
she became a Mataji.
Yeah. At the end of the first night, she stayed the whole night trying to allure him. And when the morning came, because all these kind of activities go on the night time, right? Not the daytime, illicit sex and that. So she took off in the morning. But before she went, he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry that I couldn't fulfill your desire," because she proposed to him, you're so handsome young man in the prime of your youth, and I'm, very attracted to you. I'm very lusty, very attracted to you. Please satisfy my desires. And Haridas said, "Yes, I will satisfy you, but let me finish my rounds first." And so, but he hadn't finished by the morning. So she took off, but before she took off, he said, "I'm so sorry. but I couldn't finish my rounds. So come back again tonight. Come back again, and I'll definitely satisfy you. So she came back the second night, and she waited the whole night again. And the next morning he said, "Oh God, I'm so sorry. I just couldn't finish my rounds." And then the third night she came, and she'd been hearing for 3 nights the chanting the Hare. Can't imagine how pure it would have been, hearing his chanting from Haridas Thakur's mouth. But she was so fortunate, the sinful prostitute, to hear such pure, it's called Shuddhanam, the pure holy name, without any offenses, with pure love. So she'd been hearing this loving chanting of God's names for 3 nights, and that has slowly purified her. So by the third night, she started to chant, because she's been hearing for 3 days, and she started to chant, Hari Hari, Krishna Krishna. You saw that? She said, dear devotees, please click on the WhatsApp link. So yeah, do that at some point. So she started to chant, and then all the dirty things in her heart became cleaned out by her hearing and chanting. So she realized, what a rascal I have been to try to make this great devotee fall down. That's such a sinful thing. So she fell down at his feet and crying and begged for forgiveness. Actually, if you offend a devotee, that's what you should do. You should cry and beg for forgiveness if you've offended a devotee or done anything like that. This is the proper etiquette to do like that. So she became very purified and very humble and begged forgiveness. And Haridas Thakur said, I knew you had been sent by to make me fall down. I knew this was a plan, and but I wanted to deliver you. I stayed. He said, I could have left when you first came. I could have gone to some other place, but I stayed here. Hey, Bob's here. Good one. Fantastic. Welcome. Hey, Bob. Nice to have you with us.
Sorry I'm late.
Bob. Great to have you with us.
Thank you. Thanks for being there.
No, it's still 3 o'clock, Bob. It's not late.
So, yeah, he said, I knew this was a plan to create trouble for me, but I had a plan that I wanted to deliver you. So she said, please accept me as your disciple. And he did. And he trained her, he taught her how to engage in devotional service, and then he left. He said, you give away all your possessions, because she was, rich from doing her prostitute stuff. So he said, you give away all your possessions and build a little hut on the bank of the Ganga and plant one tulsi bush, plant one tulsi plant and chant Hare Krishna to the tulsi. Don't worry about your maintenance. Don't worry about where food and so forth is going to come from. I'll take care of that. So she didn't do anything for her own maintenance. She just chanted. So how was she maintained? You know how she got food? She didn't make any effort for food, getting food. All the people in that area heard this amazing phenomena that a prostitute had become a Vaishnavi. They couldn't believe it. They wanted to see for themselves that a prostitute had become a sadhvi, called a sadhvi or a Vaishnavi. A female saintly person is called sadhvi or Vaishnavi, and the male is called sadhu or Vaishnava. So this was unheard of, that the lowest had become the highest. So, and as the culture in Vedic culture, you never go empty-handed to meet a saintly person. You always take something with you, some rice, some roti, some dal, some vegetables, some fruits, whatever like that, some money like that. So many people came to see her and offer obeisances. So they were offering obeisances to her and leaving some item. And she had this massive amount of food, in no time at all. And she was just so amazed without any effort. Everything was provided. So this is the arrangement the Lord makes, for his devotees who are dedicated to serving him. And we see that, because this Prabhupada's appearance has just passed. Good to talk about Prabhupada. That Prabhupada, he went to America. Do you know how much money he took with him to America? Did he take a massive fortune?
$7 or £7, wasn't it?
$7, which is peanuts, literally. A bit more because of inflation. It was a bit more valuable then than now, but still not very much. $7. He went $7 and I think a bag of muesli. He had a bag of muesli, and main thing he had was a box of books, his Bhagavatam, first canto, like that. But he didn't have much food, didn't have much money, so he completely depending on Krishna. And then if you look at a few years later, 5 or so years later, how much money did he have? Crores and crores. How much is a crore, Gulshan?
It's 10 million. It's
10 million. 10 million rupees is a crore.
Yeah.
But of course, he said he only had the $7, and years later, he had crores and crores and crores. It means he was in control of this massive organization that had spread all over the world and had hundreds of temples and farms and restaurants and devotees. They were collecting every day. Hundreds of thousands of dollars daily were being collected through book distribution and so forth, prasadam distribution, so forth. Of course, he didn't enjoy even 1 rupee or $1 of all that money. He wasn't the enjoyer of any of it. He used it all in Krishna's service. That's the secret. That's why Krishna gave him so much, because he wasn't using it for his own enjoyment. He was using it in Krishna's service. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Often, it's said that often Krishna's devotees are poor. Do you know why? Often, Krishna's devotees can be quite poor.
Because they
having enough, definitely.
They're spiritually
I've never
rich.
seen a devotee starving, but not rich, not like having extra. So why is that? Where it's said that, like, and we see that Lord Shiva's devotees, and even like Ganesh or whatever like that, here Neelkanta Priya is saying Krishna takes away everything so that he can depend on Krishna. Yeah, because often, material things can be a distraction, take our concentration away from Krishna, and we won't depend on Krishna so much. Whereas often the devotees of the demigods are fabulously rich, like Ganesha's devotees, Shiva's devotees, Durga's devotees can be very rich. And but that's actually not very good, because they become puffed up and materialistic and everything like that. But Krishna is very kind, that he takes away anything that can deviate a devotee from attaining the real love for Krishna and going back to Godhead. However, if Krishna sees that one of his devotees is capable to use the money or whatever it is, material things, in his service without getting diverted by it, distracted by it, then Krishna may give so much. And we have examples of that too, that some of Krishna's devotees that had so much wealth and everything like that, because Krishna could see that they have the purity and the spiritual strength not to misuse that. So yeah, that's the point, that that the position of a devotee is a lot better than a non-devotee who's trying to advance in yoga, because he has such positive engagement. Like I mentioned, Haridas Thakur has such positive engagement. So even though the prostitute came to make him fall down, but he wasn't diverted, because he was so busily engaged in devotional service, in this case chanting, which is one kind of devotional service.
But these days, if you send the prostitute to any devotee, they will fall down. They're not at the level of the Haridas Thakur.
Yeah, we don't want to try to imitate. So that's a good point you raised. Yeah. So we don't want to try to imitate Haridas Thakur. He's highly advanced in Krishna consciousness.
Talking about devotee, and a very beautiful girl come in the temple, devotees are just turning their head towards there.
Oh, some, yeah, but I wouldn't say all are doing that. I know some devotees, are super serious.
Yes.
I know even, a prostitute was even sent to make my guru fall down, and that's only 30 years ago. I'm talking Haridas Thakur 500 years ago.
Yes.
But in Juhu, like
he
that.
Was he was a disciple of Prabhupada.
And he said that. He said the only reason why he didn't get affected overly by the prostitute was that he was so attached to Prabhupada, and he didn't want to risk losing his relationship with Prabhupada. He said otherwise, he's not sure what would have happened. But because of his love for Prabhupada, that saved him. So like that, I'm just making that point that, we want to have some positive engagement is very important. Something that you can really put your heart into, whether it's you love reading Prabhupada's books, or you love chanting, you love cooking for Krishna, making garlands for Krishna, managing a restaurant for Krishna, whatever is a farm for Krishna, do whatever, look after cows for Krishna, something for Krishna, making money for Krishna, something you can really put your heart into that really satisfies you. And then automatically you'll find that the senses become controlled more easily. And you have to have some really strong goal in your mind. And then automatically, because there's so much pressure from within yourself that I want to achieve these goals in Krishna consciousness, then automatically you'll find you won't eat too much and you won't sleep too much. The problem comes when you don't really have a goal in your mind and you're sort of floating around, like that with the breeze sort of thing. And then, if I sleep extra or eat more, it doesn't really matter. But you'll find, like an example is that, like you'll find prime ministers of presidents of countries, do they sleep much or eat much?
No, very little.
Very little.
Yes.
Why? Because they're so busy. They're managing a whole country. They've got so much to do. They've got one appointment, then another appointment, another meeting, another appointment, and heavy responsibility on their mind. They're always thinking, we have to fix this problem and make this happen and do this and like that. And so just their mind is so engaged in their occupation, in their service like that. So in the same way, if you have that, I've got to go back to Godhead in your mind, and, I don't have much time. I can die anytime soon, especially with COVID and that, right? So death can take place. We got to get serious. I got to chant better. And, there's not much time in the day. I've got so much I want to do. I want to read all of Prabhupada's books before I die. And, I want to chant more, and I want to make a garden for Krishna and have cows for Krishna and distribute Krishna consciousness and distribute books and prasadam, and there's so much things. So like that, if your mind is very focused, then automatically what you'll find is that your sleeping will become less and less and less, and eating less and less and less. That automatically that'll happen. Does that make sense? Anyone want to say anything about that?
Yeah, it's all mercy of Krishna. Once you do that one step, and 99 step, he'll do it. But you got to do one step. You get up at 3:30. He'll arrange the Mangala Aarti, everything, flower, everything. But you got to get up.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
Okay. So let's get on to today's verse before today disappears. Okay, so we're chapter 6, text 18. Let's read the Sanskrit. Okay, ready? Chapter 6, Jnana Yoga, text 18. Yada viniyatam chittam
Veda vinitam chittam
atmanyeva vatishtate
atmanyeva vashishtite
nispraha sarvakamebhyo
nispraha sarvakamebhyo
yukta ichuchate tada.
yukta ichuchate tada.
Okay, Bob, do you want to read the English translation, please?
Mate, I haven't got it yet. Did you say chapter 6, but what text was it?
Oh, 18. Okay, yeah, no worries. You look for that. Anyone else is ready to read the translation?
I've got it.
Oh, you got it? Okay, go ahead.
Is that where it says when the yogi
that's the one.
When the yogi by practice of yoga disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga.
So this is when someone's really starting to actually be a yogi. You know, there's a want to be yogi.
Yeah.
You want to be. There's that they say that, right? Wannabe. Yeah, you're a wannabe. You want to be, but when you actually are, so that's when you actually are a yogi is when you've controlled your mind and senses. That's what this verse is saying. When you're well established in yoga, when you actually have controlled your mind and your senses. And that's what we've just been saying, that this becomes easier, controlling the mind and senses, when the mind and senses are engaged in devotional service. This is the brilliant thing that Prabhupada has given us, that he's given us so much service to do. This is our lifeline to go back to Godhead. This is the real mercy, that we have so much to do. Everyone should think like that. I have so much to do for Krishna. If you don't realize you have much to do, then go to some devotee and ask them what you can do. You know, but there really is so much to do. And that way, automatically your mind and senses are controlled. Can you shut down your mind? Can you shut down your senses?
No.
Have you ever found an off switch?
No.
Off switch?
If somebody say that, just neglect that
I wish
person.
there was, but there's no off button anywhere. It's on 24/7. Even when you're asleep, right? It's on. The mind is like still racing, even though the body is sort of shut down, but the mind is still racing.
Arjuna's mind was racing too. He was a disciple of Krishna. He couldn't have a control. We got no chance.
Yeah. So you can't turn the mind and senses off, but you can either they're engaged in Maya's service or in Krishna's service. Is there any third option?
Can you repeat the question?
No third option.
Maya's service, serving illusion, serving Maya.
Yeah.
Or serving Krishna. Is there any third option? Or fourth, fifth?
No.
Not in this planet or any other planet.
Not on any planet. Not on any planet. Either basically you're trying to please yourself, or, which is Maya, or you're trying to please Krishna. It means you're trying to please your own senses, which is called Kama, Kama, Karma, which is lust, or you're trying to please Krishna's senses, which is called prema, 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 love. So the definition of prema is you're trying to please God's senses. You're trying to please God. And the definition of lust is you're trying to please yourself. You're trying to please your own senses or extensions of your own senses. Remember we talked about that? extended sense gratification. What's extended sense gratification? What's some examples of extended sense gratification?
Family.
Yeah, my family. Like you start off, right? My body. I'm trying to please my body, right? My tongue, my genitals, like that. Oh no, I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to please my tongue like that. But then you're trying to please your family's senses. Or then you try to please your countrymen's senses. What do you call that? Nationalism, socialism, all these isms, right? Or no, I'm not trying to do anything with myself. I'm always trying to help other people. Okay, you're a welfare worker, so yeah, and you're trying to please whoever it is that the welfare group. You try to please the cancer patients, or now we can try to please the COVID people, right?
Yeah.
The people that have COVID, or you can try to please the animals, right? You have the animal activists, try to please the animals, please the dogs. It's interesting though, right? The people that are trying to save the dogs or whatever, they're eating cows, so it's all hogwash really. So but anyway, we select some certain groups that we try to please, try to save the whales or whatever, save the Amazon forests or whatever like that, so you've got some circle of interest, but why do you want to please that particular group? Why are you doing it?
I think somehow in their mind they're guilty because they just saving the environment, but they already ruined it. And then
that's another point. But to fill the void. Okay, to fill the void. So it makes us feel good. Our eternal nature to love. So and be loved. So we want to get some recognition, which is pleasing our senses. Some people to love us, which is pleasing our senses. So it's still self-centered. It makes me feel good that, we're helping the blind people and helping the sick people and helping the old people. It makes me feel good, and it gives me some recognition and some adoration and gives me some distinction. So it's still self-centered. You get the idea?
Yeah.
So either our activities are centered around ourselves, you can't escape it, or the activities are centered around Krishna. There's no other center. Does that make sense? Either activities are centered around pleasing Krishna, or they're centered around pleasing ourselves. Even if you say, oh, no, I don't care about myself, I care about all the old people or whatever. No, but the reason why you care about the old people, because it makes you feel good. If it didn't make you feel good, you wouldn't care about the old people.
Or maybe you're thinking that one day you're going to get older, somebody will look after me.
So, there's some motive. There's some motive there. Some personal motive there. So it's still sense gratification.
You don't think
so we say either immediate sense gratification, my body, my senses, or we say extended sense gratification, which is, I said, my family.
You don't think we have any ability just to care about people? Genuinely just care about people?
We do, definitely.
Yeah.
But you have to start with God first.
Yeah.
Unless you care about God, you don't really care about anyone.
Yeah.
You don't really care about anyone. I heard this conversation, actually, Prabhupada was saying that one mother was saying, that by loving my children, then that will help me come to loving God. And Prabhupada said, no. Prabhupada said, no. You will not come to love God through loving your children. He said, but you have to love God. And if you love God, then you will develop love for your children. So he is the central point. He is the whole absolute, the absolute truth. if you love him, then automatically you love everyone. Like I said, people, they love the whales in the forest and the Amazon or whatever, but they eat cows. So, I mean, do they love everyone? No, they don't love everyone. They're just focused on a particular group that, that in their consciousness that makes them feel good, and like no one else cares, matters to them. So there's no real love there. Say, you love your children, but you don't even know what's in the best interest of your children. I love my children. I let them have sex with anyone and everyone, and I let them eat whatever they want to eat. And basically, that the children is just going to go downhill like that. So we don't even know what's in the best interests of the children. Whereas if you love Krishna, if you love God, then you naturally want to educate the children to also know God and love God. And that's real love, because if you do that, then what's going to happen to the children in their future?
Yeah, in the children, I think they don't listen. They watch. You can say it's 100 things, they're not gonna listen, but they watch what you do, they follow.
Yeah. No, I mean, that should be there. I mean, okay, so you're Krishna conscious and you're doing all the right things, and then you're trying to teach all the right things. And then I saw on the Janmashtami, there was because we couldn't meet because it's all lockdown, so they organized something online. And the guy that's been, organizing devotees to come together and chant and hear about Krishna and take prasadam and that for many years, he's sort of been leading the group. And I've seen his child from when he was a young age, and now he's grown up, nice young man now. He must be about 20, but I've known him since he was maybe 5 or something like that, or even less. And now he's like 20 years old. And he was speaking all these realizations about Prabhupada and everything like that, and Vedic culture and everything. Oh, I was so impressed. So actually, like from his father's point of view, he has real love for his child, because that child is going to go back to Godhead. That child, when he dies, he's not going to take birth again in the material world. He's going to go, like we've talked about that before. He's not going to take birth again. He's going to go back to God. He's going to get liberated, get mukti, moksha. So that's real love from the parent's point of view. If you pamper your child with sense gratification because you're in ignorance and everything like that, and I love my kids, I let them eat whatever they want, have sex with whoever they want, and just let them take drugs and whatever, do everything they want like that. But what kind of love is that? Because in their next life, they're going to take birth, some lower life form and everything like that, possibly. And what kind of love is that? I mean, real love is, you don't want the children to suffer. So, and the only way you can have your children not suffering is if they, become Krishna conscious, or if they don't become Krishna conscious, but at least you do, because at least, like what I've said about that before, right? If one person in the family becomes Krishna conscious, then that will save everyone else. Like that with my parents, right? And there's no hope of me helping my parents become Krishna conscious. But my goal is, if I can become Krishna conscious, then Krishna will look kindly upon my parents and deliver them, because they obviously helped me come into this world and everything. So they'll get some credit. And, it goes, some places it says 7 generations before and after. Some it says 10 generations before and after get liberated. It doesn't really matter the number. But basically, there's a lot of people that are going to get benefited by one person in the family becoming Krishna conscious. So that's real love. If you really love your parents, become Krishna conscious. If you really love your children, become Krishna conscious, and help them become Krishna conscious, like that. Does that make sense? So, just talking about, loving and everything like that without knowing God, without knowing Krishna, It's really just sentiment. It's really sentiment, and there's a lot of actually lust there, not love, like that. And does that make sense? Does anyone want to argue with that?
When children doesn't want to listen, what would you do?
Yeah, but like I said, free choice, but I mean, they don't have much free choice when they're really young and they're living with you. And then they're like sponges when they're real young. And then, you teach by example, do all the right things and everything. And I mean, in my case, at a certain point, my children were taken away from me, which is not the normal scenario. And then it's not in my hands anymore, so I wash my hands. It's not there's nothing I can do. I mean, of course we can pray for them and everything like that, but so like that we can still pray to Krishna and everything like that, but you can't do anything in terms of training and that. And then, but even if they are with you for a long time, still they're their own individual characters and everything like that. And but you just try your best. So that's one of the main principles of Bhagavad Gita. You do your duty, but don't be attached to the results. That's the difference between a materialistic person and one of the differences between a materialistic person and a devotee is that a non-devotee does his duty and is attached to the results. But a devotee does his duty also, his work, but is not attached to the results because he knows that who is in control of the results?
Krishna.
Yeah, Krishna. No, it's not me.
It's
not us. We're not in control of the results.
And then every time you
can look at
you're disappointed.
What's that?
Every time you're attached for a result, you're disappointed. Guarantee.
Yeah, and the material world is set up to give the opposite result to what you want. That's the way it's set up. If you look at 247, have a look.
You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruit of action. Never consider yourself a cause of the result of your activities and never attach to doing your duty. You said, never consider yourself the cause of result of your activity.
Correct.
Means if you do any cause, the result, like if I steal someone's money, then the cause of the result of activity, I'm responsible, I've got to pay back. How come you're not cause of the result of activity? That means
you're not in control of the outcome.
Yeah, but outcome is not controlled. But like if I steal someone's money, I have to pay back.
Yeah.
The result of activities, it's yeah. Well, Krishna will arrange, but I've got to pay no matter what.
No, but I mean, you might engage in some business venture, and sometimes you get profit at the end of it, and sometimes you get loss at the end of it.
Yeah.
You might have a fight or something, and sometimes you win the fight, and sometimes you might lose the fight. Like with the Bhagavad Gita, right? That Arjuna's job is to fight, but does he know whether
he win or not?
Win
yes.
or he's going to lose?
He don't know.
No, you don't know. So no one knows, and that's not up to us. Whether you actually end up in profit or loss, or win or lose, or victory or defeat, or whatever, that's not up to us. It's not in our hands. We just have to try our best. You might try your best and you get profit. You might try your best and you might get, loss, negative. You might try your best and you win. You might try your best and you lose.
It's not basically my win anyway.
Purity desires, ultimately Krishna desires, pleases everyone. Yeah. That's interesting.
Jai Prabhupada gives it a phenomenal knowledge.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's Krishna stealing butter, for example.
He's the creator of everything. He can do anything.
So, yeah, he's the enjoyer. He's the enjoyer of all the outcomes. We're not, but the thing is, in material consciousness, we want to enjoy the result. We want to enjoy the result. Our stealing, oh God, what to say? So we can't imitate God. He can do anything. So we have to do our duties, whatever he wants us to do, but don't think that we can control the outcome. Whatever outcome is for his pleasure, and that's good news, because even if there is a failure or loss or whatever, that's his failure, that's his loss. It's not ours.
Like Krishna never
that's
lost.
Stress-free work. That's right. Anxiety-free work. That even if Arjuna fought and he lost in the battle, we lost the battle, there's no anxiety for Arjuna. That's
not his loss anyway.
Krishna. So that's Krishna's problem. Okay, I lost, Krishna. That's your problem. But you're just doing your best. So, if you do your work and you make $1 million and you give it to Krishna, that's for Krishna. That's great. And if you do your work and you lose $1 million, well, that's also for Krishna's problem. That's Krishna's account. It's not your account. It's going into his account. So from your point of view, there's no anxiety. Why we're in so much tension and anxiety is because we think that we have to enjoy the results and we're in control of the results, which is not true. That's not the case. Okay, so let's get back to our verse for today. Yeah. So like I was saying, we're so fortunate that we have lots of activities to do. Lots of activities to do for Krishna. And we're talking about love and lust. That's how we came to talk about that. So yeah, real love is we're doing it for Krishna's pleasure. We're doing it for his pleasure. And then automatically it makes it easier to control the mind and senses. But it takes practice. That's why it says here, by the practice of yoga. So it's something you have to do this every day. It's not going to come automatically. You just wake up in the morning and you're an advanced yogi. No, you have to practice every day.
Even if you want an Olympic gold medal, you need a 20 years practice.
Yeah, those people didn't automatically.
Do you think one day get up and you are swimming and you got a gold medal? No.
They got up early in the morning. I bet you they got up early in the morning too.
Oh yeah, go in the pool 4:30 in the morning.
Practicing
the swimming. It doesn't matter. One day they get up and they get the gold medal. And then we're talking about spirituality. This is not that easy.
Yeah. But they're getting up early in the morning for their sense gratification.
Yeah, but the name and fame.
In the morning to give sense gratification to Krishna. But the principle is the same, but it's what's the goal? What's the goal?
Yeah.
So like I was saying, that we have to develop this love for God, and then automatically you'll love all the children, and you love all the parents and the black people, the white people. You'll love all the Afghanistan people, whether they're Taliban or not. You love everyone. But without loving Krishna, then there's always going to be some defects. There's always going to be some defects. Okay, so let's read the purport. Okay. Gulshan, do you want to start reading the purport?
The activities of the yogi are distinguished from those of an ordinary person by his characteristic cessation from all kind of material desire, of which sex is the chief. A perfect yogi is so well disciplined in the activities of the mind that he can no longer be disturbed by any kind of material desire. The perfect stage can automatically be attained by person in Krishna consciousness, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4, 1820.
Okay, we'll just stop
right. I did the last word. Right. I didn't read all that.
You don't have to read all that, but we'll stop there because I want to speak about this. Yeah, so what's the difference Between a yogi and an ordinary person. So the difference Prabhupada is explaining here, and this is what the verse is saying, that the materialistic person has got all kinds of material desires, but the yogi, he controls. He doesn't have those material desires. He's cessation. He doesn't have material desires, whereas the materialistic person is full of material desires. So one is full of material desires and the other one's free from material desires, the advanced yogi. So, and these material desires, and Prabhupada's saying that sex is the chief. So of there's so many different kinds of sense gratification, ways that, different senses that we gratify. But it's said that the highest material pleasure in the material world is the sex pleasure. So that's why sex is the chief, because it's said to be the highest pleasure, material pleasure in the material world. And the whole of material society revolves around that sex pleasure. Why do families get created? Because of sex pleasure. Why do people work so hard? Because of sex pleasure. Does a man work hard before he connects up with a woman?
Not normally.
Not normally. Normally, a boy by himself is a lazy bum. And then as soon as he hooks up with a girl, then he becomes very active. So then he goes to work and, has to make money and make a house and, and then fill it up with a fridge and a washing machine and beds and furniture and all that kind of stuff. And so all the other activities, they all expand out from that. But that's the central one is based on sex desire. As soon as, see, the man and the woman, the male, and this is in every species, not just human species, there's an attraction between the male and the female. Male is called pumsa, and female is called striya. So this is in every species. There's an attraction between the pumsa and the striya, the male and the female. And that's called the calm, the sex desire, based on sex desire, that attraction. And when those two come together, the male and the female, it's said that creates a knot in the heart. So they become attracted to each other through that sex desire, and that creates a knot in the heart. And then after that knot in the heart develops, they become attracted to each other and then attached to each other. Then you need a house, and then you need a car and the furniture and all the other parts and parcels, of all the household things.
Yogi doesn't need any.
Education. What's that?
Yogi doesn't need any.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have that sex desire and that attraction to the opposite sex, then obviously you don't need the house and you don't need the furnishings and the job and the city life and all these kind of things. Then all that is avoided like that.
But then
the point is that, what's that?
The nature works in there. This whole planet, its roles of that means nature ways to be move forward. Like now the spring is there. No matter you water the plant or not, flower will come, isn't it? So that's the nature. So the nature is to be moving forward, whether human, animal, or ants or anyone. And the moving forward is only one way, which is your interaction with the sex and move forward. This is just the life is going.
Yes.
If everybody stopped that, 100 years time, that the planet will be empty.
Yes, true. And then Nilakanta Priya just mentioned that if we have desires, so we have desires for enjoying the senses, but they can be purified by serving Krishna. So that's true. These desires get purified by serving Krishna. And so automatically you start serving Krishna, then all these desires to please our own senses, like the genitals and the tongue and so forth, then they start to become more insignificant. And I mean, I've noticed that myself. You know, I'm living with a wife, but our desires to please our own senses become insignificant because the center of our relationship is serving Krishna. You know, like Janmashtami and that. We're thinking, you know, how to cook some nice things for Krishna. So she was cooking some things for Krishna and I was cooking some things for Krishna. And, you know, that we get together and we sing some songs. Like we sing the song for the Guru. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Pando Moy Savadhana Mate. So we both sing and we play mridanga and kartals and she plays a harmonium, and so you know you're coming together is based on serving Krishna, not coming together based on pleasing you know each other's senses, pleasing your own senses. So one time my spiritual master was asked to come into Prabhupada's room. Prabhupada asked him to come with another devotee, and he told both of them, you sit down. They were both young brahmacharis, young celibate men. And he said, when you see a woman, you can think either two ways. That, oh, this woman has come, let me exploit her. Or, this woman has come, you know, Krishna has sent her. Krishna has sent her. Let me engage her in Krishna's service. Like that. So there's, you know, the same scenario, but you can think two ways about it. You can think there's two options. How are you going to deal with that? You're going to see it in relation with Krishna's service, or you're going to see it in relation with your enjoyment. And that's our choice, you know, and everyone has that choice, you know, every day. You know, we have that choice. How are you going to take it? But so wider sense, the mother nature can be utilized in Krishna's service. Yeah. So everything in the material world, actually, it's all Krishna's energy. So Krishna's energy should be used for Krishna's pleasure. And that's the way a devotee sees everything. That everything I see around me belongs to Krishna, and it should be used for his pleasure. The money should be used for his pleasure. The woman should be used for his pleasure. The men should be used for his pleasure. The children, the houses, the cars, the skyscrapers, the mobiles, whatever like that, everything should be used for his pleasure. And that's Krishna consciousness. And these desires come from the mind. So this is the central point, as I've mentioned before, of yoga means to control the mind. If you control the mind, automatically the desires are controlled. The senses are controlled. Because the desires coming from the mind are produced from the mind. Sankalpa prabhavan kamams. So all material desires, they arise from mental speculation. But see, the devotee controls his mind by engaging in Krishna's service. Therefore, as much as possible, what should we do with our mind?
Chanting.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We have to try to concentrate our mind on Krishna's names, and that will always keep our mind, you know, in a purified state and away from other desires. Like, how can I enjoy my tongue and belly and genitals and make more money? And so many desires come, right? There's like hundreds of thousands of desires. Let's have a little read about the desires of a demoniac person.
And I've got a big desire tree in my mind all the time. Soon I stop chanting, they're waiting, and they just get in.
This is chapter 16, text number 13 to 15. This is the result of not controlling the mind by engaging it in Krishna's service. This is what you end up with. Whoever finds it can read it.
Was it 16:13, was it?
Yeah, 16th chapter, and there's 3 verses together, 13, 14, and 15.
The demonic person thinks so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my scheme. So much in mine now, and it will increase in the future more and more. He is my enemy, and I have to kill him, and my other enemy will also be killed. I'm the Lord of everything. I'm the enjoyer. I'm the perfect, powerful, and happy. I'm the richest man surrounded by the aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifice. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall be rejoiced. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. Stupid. Oh, no, he didn't say that.
Does it sound familiar? I mean, many of us may have had this kind of mentality.
100%.
I mean, we might not go so far as you want to kill our enemies, but often we see that even in business, right? You try to push down your competitors.
Yeah, I was the same 3 years ago.
You're very happy to see your competitors get pushed down into the ground, you know. So, you know, that's a cause of celebration that your enemies are, you know, out of the way, you know. So, this is the main thing in the material is envy. That because of this desire for sense gratification, we become envious. You know? See, if you want to get rid of envy from your life, you have to get rid of sense gratification. You can't not be envious if you have desires for sense gratification. And it's said that devotees are non-envious. And the reason why devotees are not envious, or it means they love everyone. They don't. It's not that they don't like. You know, envy means you don't like someone. You don't like someone. So, and you're happy that they get pushed down. So
that's why the devotee, they shave their head, so they don't really care what they look like. You know, the hairstyles and you know.
That's why we're in the material. Yeah. So originally, that's why we've come to the material world. That we were envious of Krishna. That we wanted to be Krishna, and we wanted to enjoy without Krishna. So therefore, in the material world, so that envy is there. It's not surprising. But the way to get free from envy is we have to get free from sense gratification. If you get free from sense gratification, then automatically you'll get free from envy. If you don't want to be Krishna, you're not going to hate Krishna, isn't it? The only reason why you hate Krishna is because you want to be him. You know, you want to be God. You want to be the enjoyer. You want to be the enjoyer. You want to be the proprietor. You want to be the controller. If you don't want those things, then you're not going to dislike him. You're not going to hate him. So this is the way to deal with envy and other bad qualities, is to give up sense gratification. The only way to do that is to get away from trying to please ourselves all the time and put ourselves in the center, is by putting Krishna in the center and trying to please him. And that's a very natural process because we were made to do it. It's not artificial to try to please Krishna, because actually the nature of the soul, Krishnera Nitya Das, Jivira Swarupaya Krishnera Nitya Das, that we are the eternal servant of Krishna. That's our Swarupa, that's our original constitutional form, is to serve Krishna, to please Krishna. So it's a natural process. It's not unnatural or artificial. It's very natural. And when you do it, it's enjoyable. And that and we see that experience in our own lives. When we get together and do kirtan, it's enjoyable. When we have prasadam together with the devotees, it's enjoyable. When you hear about talks about Krishna, it's enjoyable like that. When you're discussing about Krishna, it's enjoyable. And that's because it's very natural. And I mean, we were never brought up Hindus or anything, but it's become our life and soul, this culture, you know, because it's already within our hearts. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabu Noi Shavanari Shudachadikare Doi. That love for Krishna is situated in the heart of every living being. It just has to be awakened by hearing. That's why this process of hearing, Shravanam, is very important. That we're just awakening what's already in our hearts. I didn't even awaken. I mean, I didn't even come to Krishna consciousness by going to India. I became Krishna conscious in New Zealand. And, how is that possible? Just by hearing about Krishna from a devotee. I just heard about Krishna from a devotee, and immediately the Krishna consciousness came up because it was already there. I didn't go to India to get Krishna consciousness.
I think it's a contribution from your past life as well.
No,
You must
whatever
be doing
past
some
life,
in past life. That's
but originally, my point is that originally we are originally, all of us are Krishna conscious, whether you've done something recently or not recently. Yeah, it's dormant in the heart. So it just needs to be reawakened. I mean, yeah, I agree with what you're saying, and that the scriptures do say that. I mean, that your Krishna consciousness you're doing now is a continuation from what you've done in the past life. So yeah, we may have been yogis in our past life, Krishna conscious yogis, and we're continuing, but we didn't complete. Yeah. We didn't have a complete bank account. Spiritual bank account wasn't complete, so we had to come back because we only did 50% or whatever. But in other cases, I mean, there's parts of the scriptures which say, like 7:28. If you look at chapter 7, text 28, we've nearly hit our time limit. But chapter 7, text 28, it says there, then
the person who's acted piously in previous life and this life whose sinful action are completely eradicated, are freed from the duality of the illusion, and they engage themselves in my service with the determination.
Okay, so there it's saying that the only person that can engage in devotional service is the person that's acted piously in this life and previous lives and no more sinful reactions. But then the devotee said to Prabhupada, it didn't really look like that was our situation because we were all hippies having drugs and illicit sex. So we're like sinful in this life. Definitely what to speak of the last life. Even in this life, we're all sinful. I mean, the week before I joined, I was eating cows. I mean, that's like the most sinful thing you can do on the planet. I mean, the week before I joined, I was eating cows. So it definitely didn't look like I was pious in this life. So the devotee was asking, it doesn't really look like we fit the bill, Prabhupada. How did we end up? And, now we're doing devotional service with determination. That results there. But where's the piety? Where's this being free from sins? And what did Prabhupada said? That I created your piety. That's far out. Think about that one. I created your piety. So that's what she's saying now. Nilakanta Priya, Vaishnava's mercy. By the mercy of devotee, even a sinful person can take to Krishna consciousness. So immediately the sinful person comes in contact with the Vaishnava devotee, pure devotee, they immediately become pious. Just by that, even a brief association with a devotee and getting the mercy of a devotee, and the devotee prays to Krishna, please deliver the soul, then Krishna helps them. So the devotee's interfering with that person's basically journey downwards, not upwards. Looks like we're going downwards. But by the mercy of the devotee can completely turn us around. So all glories to Prabhupada. Our savior. Because we definitely didn't look like we were pious yogis before we came across the devotees, so. But definitely, there may have been something in the past, and some good desire there. But yeah, there's so much desires for sense gratification are there. So we have to prasadam. Yeah, that's the mercy too. Get prasadam. So yeah. So we have to control the mind. That's very important. We control the mind, engage the mind in Krishna's service. And that's what this 3 verses, that's or string of verses you can have a read later, is all about, talking about King Ambarish and how he engaged says, first of all, he engaged his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna, then one after another. Then he engaged all of his other senses, his words, his tongue, all this kind of thing like that. he engaged all his different senses. His words in describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord, his hands in mopping the temple of the Lord, his ears in hearing the activities of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the transcendental forms of the Lord, his body in touching the bodies of the devotees, his sense of smell and smelling the scents of the lotus flowers offered to the Lord, his tongue in tasting the tulsi leaf offered at the lotus feet of the Lord, his legs in going to the places of pilgrimage and the temple of the Lord, his head in offering obeisances unto the Lord, and his desires in executing the mission of the Lord. All these transcendental activities are quite befitting a pure devotee. So yeah, that's the life of a yogi. That, you know, our mind is fixed on the Lord, and we're always trying to please the Lord and engaging, and the body follows suit. Then once the mind is engaged, then automatically the body will follow suit. Then you'll, you know, use your legs and your arms and your tongue and everything, you know, it will be following whatever the mind has decided. And why has our mind changed from being fixed on, I want to enjoy sense gratification, to, you know, I want to please Krishna? And that's the mercy of the devotees like Prabhupada. Prabhupada turned our minds around. I mean, my mind was just going crazy, you know, trying to think of ways that I could be happy. And I was completely miserable. But I was always thinking of ways that I could counteract my suffering and try to be happy. And I was just getting more and more frustrated. But, you know, and then when I came to Krishna consciousness, then just engaged the mind, you know, in Krishna's service. And the body in Krishna's service, and then automatically everything comes all right. Slowly. We're enjoying hearing on our Skype calls about Krishna. Yes. So yeah, that's, unfortunately our time is up. Anyone want to say anything?
Just thank you so much, everyone.
That's all right.
Hare Krishna.
Tomorrow Ekadashi.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm busy tomorrow. I'm going to chant.
Good.
Yep. I'm going to do a bit of kirtan with Katie, Bhakti Mala.
I'm going to cook the Ekadashi Prasadam. You want to come and have Ekadashi Prasadam in Bhakti Tree?
We'll see.
No, you have to tell me in advance because I cook accordingly.
I can't travel that far from where I live, unfortunately.
Okay, Mataji, you coming for Prasadam? Bhakti Mala Mataji.
Are you talking to me? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, well, if you're offering, that sounds lovely. Thank you.
Okay, please come.
Yeah.
I'll cook Prasadam. And then come and have Prasadam.
Sounds good.
All goes to Jagannath.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Connect up with that link. That link from Nilakanta Prayers made up a link for the WhatsApp group. So if you want to join with that WhatsApp group, then please.
How do I do that?
Just click on the link, Prabhuji.
Link on in my WhatsApp. I can't see the link.
It's on Skype message.
On the Skype message.
Look at your Skype messages.
Right now.